guys, welcome back to We Need to Talk About This. I'm your host, Chuck Oliveris. This is actually episode 37, which I'm a little blown away by. They're not all for everybody, as I always say, but, sometimes we hit it right on the head, especially when I get my cousin Matt on here and stuff. But this week, I just wanted to have some fun and laugh at some shit because I was looking at all this stuff, some stuff on social media, and then I also wanted to share some celebrity stories. Most of you know that I was in the entertainment industry a little bit back in the day for about 10 years when I was a bodyguard. And I worked at a lot of different places. And anyway, so when I read these stories about people's experiences with some of the celebrities that they meet, I always trip out if it's someone that I've met myself and I know that person as well, or I've been around them. And I kind of like reading everybody else's things on that. So we'll talk about that tonight. I want to talk about who the nice ones are and who the nice ones aren't, maybe. There's a couple of little stories that people have, and I'm going to share those with you. And then I found a lot of funny stuff. I have this little thing for funny signs. I mean, all these signs are real, and it's just like when you're traveling, sometimes you see the way somebody spelled something on a sign or something like that. So I got a bunch of those I'm going to share with you, because they're just fun and they're funny to crack up at. But speaking of celebrity stories, so I kind of wanted to start off with this story on Janis Joplin and Jim Morrison from The Doors, because this is a story I didn't know about. But apparently in 1969, at a wild party in Laurel Canyon, Janis Joplin sat on a Warren amplifier, half-empty bottle of Southern Comfort in her hand, surrounded by heat and chaos of a jam session. So members of iconic bands, you guys, like The Doors, Jefferson Airplane, Big Brother and the Holding Company, they were drifting in and out of the scene. And then Jim Morrison, already drunk, began circling Janis. His slurred words and sarcastic jabs aimed at provoking her. So the story goes, when he made a comment about her singing style, Janis didn't flinch, continuing to tune her guitar until he grabbed the neck. That's when she stood up, with a cold defiance, warned him, "Keep your hands off my gear, Morrison." The tension in the room skyrocketed when Jim, trying to provoke her further, knocked over a glass of beer at her feet. The laughter of the crowd echoed, but Janis remained unmoved. Without hesitation, she raised the bottle of Southern Comfort and cracked it over Jim's head, the impact ringing throughout the room. As he staggered, stunned, Janis coolly told him, "You mess with a Texas girl, you get the glass." The room fell silent. Jim, with blood trickling down his cheek, simply nodded and backed off, leaving Janis to stand her ground. That night became legend in LA rock scene, not just for the music, but for the moment. Janis made it clear she wouldn't be bullied or disrespected. Morrison, known for his fiery persona, was taken aback by the force of her and her presence. In later years, he reportedly admitted that women scared the hell out of him, a sentiment that would follow Janis for the rest of her career. The incident was a defining moment for Joplin, symbolizing her defiance and strength, and it became the stuff of rock and roll lore. So that's an interesting story I'd never heard before. But you want to go back, Janis Joplin and Jim Morrison, I mean, come on. When I was in Hollywood, I heard so many stories about the Beatles, Joplin, Morrison, The Doors. There's so many stories. When you live in Hollywood as many years as I did, and you move around a little bit, and you're working here and there, you hear a lot of history and you hear a lot of things. I mean, everybody who has been there for a couple of years and worked in the industry has seen or observed something with a celebrity. We all kind of shared our stories with each other. I mean, I remember when I worked on CSI Miami, most of the gossip and the stuff you heard about people was all said in the makeup trailer. So it was while they were getting their hair and makeup, and they go, "Oh, I worked with that guy. He's kind of weird," or this and that. And it was kind of like when I remembered my day on the set was on CSI with Tom Sizemore, and he was being scrutinized for doing a lot of drugs and stuff like that. And always loved him. He was one of my favorite actors. So when he came on the show, I was really excited. And we were with him for about a week. He did a really good job, but I did hear they found some stuff in his Star Wagon afterwards. So the stories float around like that, but there's just one classic one for you with Jim and Janis Joplin. And also I just want to throw a shout out to my friend Chris Hange, because she's been wanting to get a recliner from me, and I have it here. I'm going to show you a picture. There you go, Chris. Give me a call. That's the used recliner we're getting rid of, and you are more than welcome to have it. For those of you who can't see, there's a big brown poopish stain in the middle of the seat of the recliner, and it looks like some grandmother probably owned it at some time. Something that came to me today, I was thinking about Robin Williams, and I thought, man, the world is just not the same without him. It was 10 years ago today. We lost one of the greatest actors and comedians. He will never be forgotten and forever missed. And of course, one of my favorites. So it's crazy to think that it's already been 10 years and no more Robin Williams. And God, we could sure use a little Robin Williams, don't you think, in the world right now? So, hey, listen, I was talking about the other day, what did I hear? Billie Jean came on the radio, and I thought, oh, I remember that dude. When that album came out, Michael Jackson, Filler, it was a top seller. For those of you that can't see, there is a picture of the album cover, of course, Thriller, but it says Michael Jackson, Filler, and his face, to me, looks like The Weeknd in that weird video where his face is all wrapped up. I don't know if it's I Run Away. I don't remember. But yeah, that's creepy, isn't it? It's super. Look at it again. Isn't that creepy? It totally looks like The Weeknd. I'm tripping off of that. Also found a little something that I thought was funny I'd share with you, because if you're a movie fan, you know about the movie Poltergeist, the original Poltergeist, Steven Spielberg directed, with Craig T. Nelson and Jo Beth Williams. And then all the stuff plagued that movie. Of course, the young girl who was Carol Ann died, and she was staring into the TV. Remember? They're here, that whole thing. So I saw this meme, and it cracked me up, because that little midget lady or whatever that comes to clean the house and says, this house is clean and all that crazy shit. I saw a meme with her. Check this out, you guys. It cracks me up. Yeah. When you're trying to save Carol Ann and the beat drops. And she's just like, when that wind's blowing her, Steven, not yet. I fucking love that movie. It's like the best movie in the world. Poltergeist. I'll watch it again over and over sometimes. Okay, it's time for funny signs. So here's some of the funny things you see when you go out in public. You know, a lot of people are not educated, and they misspell things, or they put it up wrong, or they're just dumbasses. But here's one from the dollar store. It's kind of funny. It says hot buys, succulent bowels. They're regularly $14.99. They're only $5 right now. If you need a succulent bowel, go to the dollar store, because they used to be $14 and now they're only $5. I have no idea what that is. I really don't. I have no fucking clue. I like this one though. Here's a picture of a sign somebody put up that says, please don't touch yourself. Ask your server to help you. You know, that one I kind of like. I like that one. Please don't touch yourself. Ask our server to help you. I'm going to try that next time I go into my bar. I don't think that'll go over too well. That one's hilarious, though. This one cracked me up. You guys, look at this thing. For those of you that can't see, if you're on Spotify or iHeart, it's a chain link fence, 2 solid poles with about an inch of chain link fence between the 2 solid poles instead of stretched out over a large area. And there's a tiny little sign, metal sign that says, keep out. And this cracks me up, because apparently they don't want you to go in that little bitty 1-inch area. But you can go around it. You can walk around it. You can do anything else, but you just can't go through that 1 inch. This is a real thing. Some people can say it isn't, but it is. Cracks me up. it's when you're traveling, and I'm about to travel 39 hours out to White Oak, North Carolina, when we move in a couple months. And that's a long ass ride. When I was younger, I did it. We went from the Bay Area to Atlanta, Georgia, to a little town called Livonia, Georgia. And I think I've talked about it on the podcast before, because I was talking about some of my friends like Jimmy Hornbuckle. I mean, they had really unique names there. There were a lot of Chastains and a lot of Baptist churches. But anyway, we're going to be making that trip. And I was just thinking, when you travel across the country, you see crazy shit like these signs I'm showing you right now, because it's just funny. You never know what you're going to see, right? So here's a whistle manufacturer, as in a whistle you blow, and it says Mike Hunt Whistles. Mike Hunt Whistles. And then it says number one in the UK supplier to the trade something. But that's hilarious. Mike Hunt Whistles. Mike Hunt Whistles. No, you should have that looked at. Even better, this road sign caught my eye, because look at this one. It says out of whack, and then underneath it on the yellow road sign, it says more whack has been ordered. I don't know what that means. One of my favorites this week is this street sign right here. So imagine you move, you got to give somebody your address, and like, what street do you live on? I live on Moorhead Street. Can there just be Moorhead? There's little weird street names like that all over and stuff. When I first moved to Burbank and Toluca Lake area, I used to drive around, and it's like Topanga Canyon, or I'd see Chandler Boulevard in Burbank, and I used to think to myself, these fucking writers in Hollywood here are using these street names for character names on Friends and things like that. And I mean, I have no way of proving that, but I guarantee you that's what it was. Because Topanga wasn't on Friends. Topanga was on Boy Meets World. But Chandler Boulevard. I'm telling you, there's a lot of street names and stuff, and those guys are using them. Which was kind of one of the fun things about Hollywood. When I first moved there, I bought a book that told you all these locations they filmed things, and then I would get really, really stoned on a Saturday when I was off, and I would drive around and find these locations. The Brady Bunch house over on Dillon Street, over in the Valley, just everything, all kinds of different. Freddy Krueger's house. You see them on social media sometimes too. But what a blast, right? What a fun thing to do. And I did that. So it was kind of cool, because then I lived there, like 10 years. So family and friends would come, and I would literally be like, hey, you want to see Ozzy's house? You want to see? I already knew where all this shit was, or things that had been featured in very popular films or TV shows that you saw all the time. So what a blast that was. Here's a nice sign somebody put up outside a food place. Homemade burger and fresh cut fries for $6.99. It's not a homemade burger. It's a homemade burger. A hoe made from a real hoe. I'd walk in and go, what's a homemade burger? They'd be all, it's her. I think it's funny. This one's hard to say. It says, welcome to Funtcuck. So it's Funtcuck. And then it says at the bottom of the sign there, please pronounce carefully. No shit. And that place exists. You know what I'm going to do after the broadcast? I'm going to look it up and find out where that is, because that's a really cool name. There's one of my favorites this week right here. Skinny Dick's halfway in. Listen, if you need a room, you got an order to stay, go check out Skinny Dick's. Halfway in down the road. Pretty good prices. I think you'll like it. Skinny Dick's. That guy lives in Georgia. I shouldn't make fun. I'm going back to the South soon. I don't want to piss him off or anything. Okay, let me see if I can do this one. I have to get into my David Byrne mode from Talking Heads. Here, let me get a sip. Because this meme's hilarious. And if I don't do it right, it won't be the same. Okay, ready? Here it comes. For those of you that can't see, it's a car that's crashed into the second floor of an apartment building, like it came off an on-ramp or something. And then the meme says, And you may find yourself behind the wheel of a large automobile, and you may find yourself in a beautiful house with a beautiful wife, and you may ask yourself, how did I get here? That was horrible. That's definitely not David Byrne and the Talking Heads. But when I saw it, it cracked me up. I'm like, are you serious right now? It's good stuff. It really is. I want to, here's another celebrity story before we go on to anything else. And it's about the big guy, of course, Mr. Frank Sinatra, the chairman of the board, baby. Take the high road. I was reading a thing last week about him because I've always been a Sinatra fan. I sing a lot of his songs when I do karaoke and shit like that. But I love his style and always loved Frank and his persona and that whole thing. So what I want to do is maybe educate you on something you didn't know about him, because a lot of people didn't know this. So I'm going to put this up real quick, and then I'm going to read to you this thing because this is really interesting. Listen to this. So Elliot Wiseman was Frank Sinatra's manager for over 20 years, and he never had a contract, he said. He said, here are some other things that he said in Sinatra's book about the way it was. He said he was the bravest guy he knew, a champion of the underdog with loyalty, honesty, and integrity. The world is still looking to fill the void he left behind him, and I will miss him every day. And then he says, Sinatra would punch a punching bag for exercise all the time. And he would say that his punctuality was to the extreme. If you were not on his plane on time, then he would leave without you. Once he left without Elizabeth Taylor, and her fiance couldn't get her out of the bathtub. He could be fearless when he was one engine in his twin engine plane. It says he could be fearless, and when one of the engines in his twin engine plane had to be jump started after a concert, he insisted on flying. The plane can fly on one engine for 45 minutes. Let's get out of here. At 75, Sinatra's fist still flew, working out on that punching bag I was talking to you about. And then the guy says regularly he'd do that, and when touched by an aggressive paparazzi in Italy, he lashed out with a right hook. The guy's feet left the ground, and the guy went down. Sinatra was tough. He loved to push my buttons, he said. If we were on the road too much, he would say, what are we, broke? So we hadn't toured. But if we hadn't toured lately, he would ask, are we retired? He would read the newspaper in each town during his tours. And at one time there was a story about someone having trouble. He'd tell the management team, send this family $5,000, just like that. And he did it anonymously. Never took credit for it. He made the industry what it is today. It's all built off of him. Sinatra was the entertainer of the 20th century. He was your friend. You didn't need any other friends. If you crossed him, he'd go out of his way to try and irritate you, or worse. He says the way he carried himself, you knew he was in charge. He was the boss, and you can't teach anybody that. I don't think anything says anything better than that. That was his guy right there. And I was actually fortunate enough to see Frank Sinatra before he passed. I took my mother, I think on a Mother's Day, rented a limo, put on a tux, and I took her out to the Circle Star Theater in San Bruno, California, which I don't think is there anymore. But what it was a stage in the round, and it would slowly go around while the performance was going on. So everybody had a good seat, basically, was what the deal was. But the Circle Star was there for years. As kids, my parents took us there, and we saw Michael Jackson and the Jackson 5, and Janet was just their little sister that came out and did a couple numbers. So very unique place. A lot of famous names went through there, but that's where I saw Mr. Sinatra, and he was amazing. I enjoyed every second of it. So I wanted to share that with you guys, because who's cooler than Frank Sinatra, right? Now, I know that we were doing a lot of Diddy stuff, but by Diddy, there's more. Okay, there's just a few I found this week. I want to share them with you because they cracked me up. So let's go ahead and do the first Diddy one. Call of Diddy. Supposed to be Call of Duty, right? And he's holding a big, supposed to be an AK-47, but it's a big baby lotion AK-47. Yeah. But wait, there's more. Check this out. P.P. Diddley. P.P. Diddley doll. The P.P. Diddley doll comes with a little P. Diddy. He's a doll, and he's got his orange jumpsuit on from jail. He's got his Johnson & Johnson's baby oil in the plastic thing, and looks like some sex toys there. I'm not even sure what that is. One of them looks like stuff you put a barbecue sauce on with. I don't know. So weird. And then this one killed me, guys. Look at this. Diddy, the booty hunter, A&E. And he's looking like dog with the blonde hair and a badge. He has a badge and a bottle of Johnson & Johnson's baby oil. You know what, Sean Combs? You're never going to get over the baby oil thing. It's never going to happen. They're just going to be going on for years about that. I mean, it's just too good and crazy. And, you know, I don't know if you guys heard this, but somebody asked Trump, would he pardon Diddy? And now he's playing around with that. He's spitting it out there. And like, well, we used to be really good friends and this and that, but I don't know. Maybe I would. First of all, dude, what's with all the pardoning? Stop with the pardoning. Okay? Ridiculous. And why is he even doing it? For what? For what? I ask you. The pardoning's killing me. Oh, that guy from 20 years ago, I'm going to pardon him. You guys like that? All right, I'll pardon somebody else. Yeah, I'm going to pardon him too. He killed my mother, but I'm going to pardon him. It's gotten so ridiculous. So I don't want to hear any more about pardoning, but I do want to hear more about Little Debbie's new Little Diddy Boy Bites. Yes. Isn't that cute? Yeah, so that's Diddy dressed up with the Little Debbie girl hat. And yeah, that's a great product right there. Little Diddy Boy Bites. They're delicious. I'm just kidding, Jesus. I think that's hilarious, though. When I saw that, I almost died. I'm like, oh my God, that's so good. Now, we all know about, I don't know if it was a year ago or 2 years ago, but the Oscars, right? Chris Rock, when he was hosting, and then Will Smith got up and slapped him, right? Huge deal all over social media and stuff, but I don't think you guys know what actually happened after that, because Will actually was in cahoots with Chris, because later they were seen really humiliating Jada in the seats. I'm dying right now. I'm freaking dying. Look at Chris Rock in the background. So guys who can't see it, it's Will Smith with a huge bottle of baby oil, literally emptying it over Jada's bald head at the Oscars with Chris Rock in the background with his bow tie cracking up. Dude, it's the most hilarious picture I've ever seen. And yes, Matt Oliveris, I know this is AI. Because Matt O keeps fucking with me about not knowing what's AI and what isn't. Dude, I'm never going to unsee that picture. I love it. I love it. I love it. So funny. I want to pay homage to one more actor. We were talking about Robin Williams and missing him and everything. The other guy I couldn't love more is, of course, John Candy. So my friend Michael Hernandez is a John Candy hater, and it really upsets me. And anyway, I loved this man. This man could make me smile, laugh, take me out of a bad mood in 2 seconds. Love every one of his movies. I mean, he's just the funniest guy in the world, and I'm so sad that he's still not here, just like Robin. But God bless John Candy. And one of my favorite films, of course, Uncle Buck. A lot of people saw that movie. If you guys are looking at the screen right now, I got a picture of him as Uncle Buck with that big furry hat on and that car and the 2 little kids, Macaulay Culkin, and that other little girl in the back seat. And he turns around with that hat and he goes, "You like that?" A lot of people get angry when I wear this hat. It angers a lot of people. He was just great, dude. And it's like, he didn't even have to say anything. And I was cracking up. Harry Crumb, so many great movies. Even way back to Splash with Tom Hanks. He played his brother. A lot of people maybe don't remember that. But so God bless John Candy, man. I sure do miss him. So now we're going to move on and we're going to talk about, we were talking about celebrities. And I was telling you that I've been around a few in my time. So all these people put up their little stories of meeting celebrities and the experience they had with them. And I always compare that, if I knew them, like I said, I would compare that to how I knew them or how they were when I was with them. But here's the other thing you have to understand. So, and I learned this a lot when I was working for Jimmy Kimmel Live late night show, because I'd have to go get the guests every night out in the parking lot when they arrived. So I got to see and know a lot of people, especially return guests. But the thing is, they're just people. And I used to tell the autograph seekers and the paparazzis and stuff, don't be so hard on these guys because they are just people. I remember, who was it? It was Jason Lee had came to do the show and they were screaming at him to go sign autographs as I was walking into the back door of the Kimmel studio. And they were starting to yell vulgar stuff at him because he wouldn't come over and sign. So after I got him into his dressing room, I went back out there and I went out to the barricade and I told them, I go, you know what? You guys need to understand that these are just people, because on that particular day, I believe it was his brother had just passed. So he just wasn't in the mood. Do you know what I mean? To go do that. And you have to let these people know that. They're just like you and me. If that was your brother, would you want to come over here and go through all that hoopla? No, you don't. So always interesting. But let's go through some of these stories. These are kind of fun. So here we are here. Okay, here's a good story. The great Kobe Bryant, during a co-hosting event at Club M2 for DJ Clue's birthday party in 2009, Kobe Bryant stayed until 4 a.m. in the VIP area. He left a remarkable $2,000 tip for the waitress as he departed. I think that's pretty amazing. And so there you go. He's a good guy, which we already kind of knew that, didn't we? Another guy we miss, right? Love you, Kobe. So that's a good story. That's a good celeb. Who we got here? Matt Dillon. Okay, this is interesting. Listen to this one. So this guy says, Matt Dillon was in town filming a movie. He came to our restaurant, but we had already closed for 15 minutes. I was the manager, so I let him in, made his food so the kitchen staff didn't have to stop their end-of-day duties, and comped his food for him. I explained I had already closed out the register, the young woman working the front, and I had to go chat with him while we went about our closing duties. He finished his food, thanked us repeatedly, and then left. When she went to clean the table, he had left a $150 tip. Okay, that's not $2,000 like Kobe did, but that's still nice, right? The funny thing is, the whole story, which you can't see on here, on this guy is, this guy had no idea who Matt Dillon was. He did that out of kindness. He knew he was a film guy shooting a movie there, but he'd never seen him, didn't know him. How have you not seen Matt Dillon? I don't know. The Outsiders, Everybody Loves Mary or whatever it was. I mean, Matt Dillon's been in 1,000 things. Little Darlings, way back, Christy McNichol and Kate O'Neill. So that's an interesting story. The guy said, I had no idea who he was. I just did what I did. So I thought that was pretty cool. Let's see who we got next here. Here's a good, oh yeah. Okay. So around 2005, Jay-Z and Beyonce came into the restaurant in Old San Juan, Puerto Rico, went upstairs to the patio with another couple. When the food came, Jay and their friends made eye contact with the servers, said thank you, and were friendly, but Beyonce just kept her head down and didn't say anything. When they left, one of the cooks who was a fan just wanted a picture, and they were like, no, absolutely no pictures. Okay, so here's what I'm going to share with you about that. So we did this big thing on Hollywood Boulevard with Jay-Z. He had a new album coming out, and he comes out there, and he brought Beyonce, and this is at the Kimmel Show. And so we built this big-ass fucking stage out on Hollywood Boulevard, And we were like, we're going to do this big thing and have the audience out in the street and everything. Anyway, LAPD, we had everybody out there. It was a super cool night, amazing event out on the boulevard, got it all on tape and everything. But that night, as far as what this lady's saying, how Beyonce kept her head down and stuff, she kind of was like that at Kimmel because she was off to the side of the stage, kept a big hood, like a big hoodie hood over her head, and she would not look up at anyone. I walked by her 1,000 times doing things, when he was getting up on stage and stuff, and she would not look anybody in the eye. I don't know. I just think that's fucking weird, and she's been that way for a while, so that's a really weird story, but I am not surprised by that lady's story on Jay-Z and Beyonce. Moving on, let's see what this lady said. Oh, this gal says, when my mom was a server during a summer in college, she served painter Salvador Dali. She said he was very odd and was kind of a jackass. Well, I think it's funny. You could just hear the girl's mom going, he was kind of odd and kind of a jackass. I would kind of expect Salvador Dali to be kind of odd and a bit of a jackass because he's a painter. And I just think people that are very talented like that, extremely talented, could possibly be, have weird personalities. This one didn't surprise me at all. This is good old Paul Newman here. This lady said, I cooked for Paul Newman a few times at a restaurant he'd visit in Connecticut. Not a fancy restaurant, just a bar and grill. He was probably the most normal person you could imagine, very laid back and polite. It seemed like he refused to accept the fact that he was an actual celebrity. I also saw him in Stop and Shop grocery shopping. No fucks given, just pushing a cart like a normal person. Well, yeah, Paul Newman was like that. He was married to, of course, Joanne Woodward, another great actress. But Paul Newman was the ultimate cool dude. Of course, him and Robert Redford in Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, classic. All kinds of films, right? Bullet, Bullet was Steve McQueen. But Newman and McQueen were like type friends and stuff. Anyway, Paul Newman, yeah, very normal guy. He loved to race, go out to Sears Point Raceway and all the raceways, and you'd see Joanna Woodward with him sometimes and stuff. So I always thought that was kind of cool too. Let's see what they say about this guy. Okay, so this is the guy. Okay, so this says, not my story, but a server friend of mine works in a very nice restaurant recently overheard Michael Dorn. Now, Michael Dorn is the dude that plays Worf from Star Trek. Anyway, she says, recently overheard Michael Dorn wave off the lady he was with when she tried to pay the bill by saying, no, let me get that. I've got that Star Trek money. I think that's pretty cool. I like this guy. I know who he is because we watched that particular Star Trek, and it's a good one. But that guy, he's really cool. His face is covered on it, of course. If you're a Star Trek fan and you follow that stuff, you know exactly who he is. So I thought it was pretty nice, and he made a comment about his Star Trek money, which I think makes him pretty humble as well. Here we got Ryan Gosling. This says around 2007, Ryan Gosling was in my hometown. He stopped by a pizza place with some others. He came in toward closing, but he rounded up a $55 check to $100 and took pics with everyone who wanted to take one with him. Okay, not a huge tipper, but still nice. And he spent time with all the people there, so we'll give Ryan an okay on that. So we know Ryan's good. And our last story, well, yeah, you guys, let's talk about this. This is what this podcast is all about. Ariana Grande licked and spit on donuts that were later sold to customers and then said, I hate America. I mean, it's not really funny. It's just like, what are we doing here? What are we doing here, Ariana? Dude, I just think that's the weirdest thing in the world that she did that. I remember when she did it, and I remember thinking, why would she do that? And I find her really cute, and she has one song I like. That's about it. Hey, I just want to add this to the end of the podcast tonight because I just want to. Convicted felons should not be allowed to pardon convicted felons. Also, convicted felons should not be allowed to be the president. I'm just saying. Just something I've been thinking about. Mr. Trump was recently talking about his hair when they were interviewing him, and I found it ludicrous and crazy. But I'm going to play a soundbite for you because I want you guys to hear it. Listen.
In my case, I like to take a nice shower to take care of my beautiful hair. I have to stand under the shower for 15 minutes till it gets wet. It comes out drip, drip, drip.
Dude. You asked for him. You got him. Hey, just want to have a few laughs with you this week. That is, we need to talk about this for episode 37. I'm Chuck Oliveris. We'll be back next week. I actually have a special guest coming on, my friend Diana. She gonna crack you up, so stick around. We'll see you soon, guys. Have a great week.